Before Richard Pryor walked onto a stage, stand-up comedy had one unspoken rule: make them laugh, don't make them uncomfortable. Pryor didn't just break that rule, he burned it down, stood in the ashes and said, "This is where the funny actually lives." And here's the thing almost nobody talks about. The moment that changed everything for him wasn't on a stage. It wasn't in a recording studio. It wasn't even in front of an audience. It happened alone, in a hotel room in Las Vegas. And when it was over, Richard Pryor walked out a completely different comedian. We'll get there. The stage before Pryor. In the early 1960s, American comedy had a look, a sound, a set of invisible fences. Comedians wore suits. They told jokes about their wives, their neighbors, their bad luck at the races. They were warm, likable, safe. The goal was to never alienate anyone, never make anyone in the room feel something they did not come in already feeling. Television reinforced it. Variety shows, clean punchlines, a studio audience that laughed on cue. Even the black comedians who broke through, Dick Gregory and Bill Cosby, had largely learned to sand down the edges. Gregory used pointed political humor, but elegantly. Cosby became America's favorite storyteller by being completely, deliberately inoffensive. This was the landscape Pryor entered, and for a while he played along. The early Pryor was a Cosby imitator in a suit, funny, polished, completely hollow. The hotel room, Las Vegas, the Aladdin Hotel. Pryor walks on stage, looks out at the audience, a sea of white faces in tuxedos, and something breaks inside him. He says, almost to himself, "What the fuck am I doing here?" He then walks off. He goes back to his hotel room. He does not perform for 2 years. Those 2 years matter. He moves to Berkeley. He immerses himself in the black arts movement, reads James Baldwin, absorbs the rage and the beauty and the specificity of black American writing. He stops trying to be likable. He starts trying to be honest. When he comes back, everything is different. The suit is gone. The Cosby rhythms are gone. What remains is something rawer, stranger, and far more dangerous. He starts talking about his grandmother, the prostitutes she ran out of their house in Peoria, his father, his own drug use, his failed marriages, his rage, his fear. He talks about being black in America with a specificity and a fury that had never been heard at a microphone before. And audiences don't just laugh, they recognize something true. He didn't find a new way to be funny, he found a new reason to be. The technique nobody taught him. What made Pryor different wasn't just what he talked about, it was how. Most comedians of his era delivered jokes, setup, punchline, pause for the laugh, reset, a clean transaction. Pryor demolished the transaction. He built scenes, full dramatic worlds, populated by characters so specific they felt like people you'd met. Mudbone, the old wino philosopher from Peoria, wasn't a comedic device. He was a person. You could see him, hear his voice, feel the sunlight on the porch he was sitting on. Pryor didn't do impressions. He inhabited. His characters had internal lives. His stories had stakes. You laughed, yes, but you also held your breath. You weren't sure where this was going, and that uncertainty was the whole point. Watch the bit about his heart attack and Live in Concert. He's not telling you what happened, he's showing you his heart, having a conversation with his body, his heart threatening to leave, his body begging it to stay. It's physical comedy, tragedy, and philosophy running simultaneously. And it lands because Pryor isn't performing at a distance from the event. He's still inside it. He also weaponized language in a way that made critics and network executives genuinely furious. His use of raw, unfiltered street language, including racial slurs aimed directly at the absurdity of racism itself, wasn't provocation for its own sake. It was accuracy. It was saying, this is what this sounds like from the inside. You don't get to sanitize it.
Other comedians talked about race. Pryor made you feel the weight of it in the room. If you're finding this useful, subscribe. There's a lot more coming on the comedians who rewrote the rules.
The specials that changed everything. Richard Pryor, Live in Concert. It's widely considered the greatest stand-up special ever recorded. Not one of the greatest. The greatest. For an hour and a half, Pryor does something that feels less like a performance and more like a confession, with perfect comic timing. He talks about his heart attack, about animals in Africa, about his father dying while having sex, about police. The special has no safety net, no applause breaks designed to let the audience catch their breath. It accelerates. 3 years later, Live on the Sunset Strip goes even further. It includes the moment where Pryor reenacts, in real time, on stage, the night he set himself on fire while freebasing cocaine. Not as a cautionary tale, not as a cry for sympathy, as a story, as something that actually happened to him, that was in some ways deeply, horrifyingly funny, because life is. The audience watches a man look directly at the worst moment of his life and find the absurdity in it. That takes a kind of courage that has nothing to do with comedy as entertainment. That's comedy as survival. He wasn't performing pain, he was converting it, live in front of you. The lineage. You can draw a straight line from that hotel room in Las Vegas to almost every comedian who matters now. Eddie Murphy studied Pryor so obsessively he could recite his albums from memory. Chris Rock's precision about race and class is Pryor's architecture. Dave Chappelle's willingness to go somewhere uncomfortable and stay there, that is Pryor. Even the confessional, self-destructive honesty of someone like Bill Burr traces back to the permission Pryor granted. The permission to tell the truth, too loud. Before Pryor, comedy's job was to make everyone comfortable. After Pryor, the best comedy makes you uncomfortable first, and then, in that discomfort, find something true. That shift is why modern comedy feels different to people who grew up on the old model. It is not that comedians got edgier for shock value. It is that Pryor proved the shock of recognition, the "that's actually real" feeling, is more powerful than any clean punchline. The joke isn't the point. The truth underneath the joke is the point. And yet, for all the comedians who carry his DNA, none of them have fully replicated what he did. Because what Pryor did wasn't a technique you could steal. It was a decision to stop protecting himself on stage and trust that the audience could handle the real thing. Most comedians never make that decision. The ones who do, you always know it when you see it. The answer. Remember the micro mystery, the thing that changed in that hotel room? It wasn't just courage, it wasn't just a breakdown. Pryor said it himself in an interview years later. What he realized in Las Vegas was that he had been performing for the audience instead of performing at the truth. The moment he stopped trying to make them comfortable, he became free. And the paradox, the thing that makes it still astonishing, is that audiences followed him directly into the discomfort. Because discomfort, when it's honest, feels more like relief than anything polished ever could. That's the thing Richard Pryor rewrote. Not the format of stand-up, not the topics, the contract. He changed what the comedian owes the audience. And it turns out, what they owe you is not safety. It's the truth, loud, unfiltered, and exactly as uncomfortable as it needs to be, even when it's too loud.